Welcome back to Football Daily, where today we're taking a look at 10 players struggling to get a game at their new club. Let's go. 10. Carney Chukwuemeka. Expected to break out at Aston Villa this season after 11 appearances in the Premier League for Steven Gerrard's side in 2021, 18-year-old Carney Chukwuemeka left for Chelsea during the summer in a deal that could be worth up to £20 million. But considering his age, it's not a huge shock that Chukwuemeka has only been handed 4 minutes of action this season. After all, as a central midfielder, his competition includes Jorginho, Mateo Kovacic, N'Golo Kante and Conor Gallagher. But what is perhaps more surprising is that he is also barely featuring for the development sides. To date, Chukwuemeka, who has a contract until 2028, has made just 2 appearances in the Premier League 2 for the Blues under-21 side. But his performance in a behind-closed-doors friendly against Brighton, in which he scored twice, followed by his brief cameo against Wolves, suggests more game time could be on the horizon under Graham Potter. 9. Maximiano. Lazio were in need of a new goalkeeper this summer. Long-time number 1 Thomas Strakosha left for Brentford, while backup Pepe Reina returned to Villarreal after 17 years away. The Bianco Celesti's first choice during the window was 23-year-old Maximiano, who almost single-handedly kept Granada in La Liga during the 21-22 campaign, saving over 5 goals more than post-shot XG predicted, the 9th best record in Europe. The former Portugal youth international, who came through the Sporting CP Academy, was signed by the Rome outfit for €10 million, with the move being heralded as a very smart investment by the Italians. But it really couldn't have gone much worse for Maximiano, lasting for just 6 minutes on his debut before a handball outside the area saw the referee show him a red card. Since then, he's yet to get on the pitch in any competition. Ivan Provedel, who also arrived this summer from Spezia for just €2 million, has impressed massively, already saving almost 4 post-shot expected goals. This is the best record in Serie A and has helped Lazio concede only 5 goals at the time of writing, the joint best record in the division with Atalanta. Right now, there's little incentive to give Maximiano another chance between the sticks. 8. Jeremie Boga. Slightly bending the rules here, as Jeremie Boga initially made the switch from Sassuolo to Atalanta alone with an obligation to buy back in January. Upon making that move, the Ivory Coast international featured in all but one of Ladea's matches until the end of the campaign, contributing 2 goals and an assist. But since the transfer became permanent for €22 million in the summer, the 25-year-old seems to have faded into the back of boss Gianpiero Gasparini's thoughts. The former Chelsea youngster, who usually plays off the left, has featured for just 26 minutes across 2 substitute appearances in Serie A this season. With no injuries to speak of, this is a bizarre development in Boga's career, especially considering he was a long-time Atalanta target. They were even prepared to let him go as quickly as they signed him, with Gasparini giving the green light to a loan offer from Leicester City on deadline day, just 2 months into his 5-year deal with the club. Boga rejected the opportunity, probably assuming he could work his way back into the first team. So far, he's been proven wrong. 7. Carlos Soler. Joining Paris Saint-Germain is very much a double-edged sword. On the one hand, domestic success is almost guaranteed, while on the other there's the potential for a lack of game time in a stacked squad. That was the decision facing Carlos Soler, who had to choose between that and a 7th year at Valencia. In fact, the 25-year-old wanted to stick with his hometown club, but after they were unwilling to offer him a long-term contract, opted for the move to France. This saw the central midfielder join a side already featuring Marco Verratti and Danilo Pereira, which had also recently added Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz and Renato Sanchez to their ranks. It means that at this stage of the season, the Spaniard has only played 61 league minutes, and he might not be getting much more action in the near future, with sporting director Luis Campos having already informed him that he'd experience a lack of playing time until at least the World Cup. We wonder if, in hindsight, Soler would rather be battling it out at the Mestalla instead. 6. Bryan. Part of Nice's transfer policy this summer appeared to be signing former Premier League stars on the decline. Ross Barkley and Aaron Ramsey arrived on frees, Kasper Schmeichel traded the East Midlands for the French Riviera, while Nicolas Pepe was given an escape from his Arsenal nightmare, albeit only for a season. Another forgotten Premier League player to cross the channel was Fulham left-back Bryan, who signed on loan at the end of August. However, at the time of writing, boss Lucien Favre has handed the Bristolian just 84 minutes of league action, 24th in the squad. squad. Admittedly, the 29-year-old arrived whilst out with a broken hand, but a regular starting spot was always likely to be out of reach for Bryan. His competition for left-back is a favourite of Favre's 21-year-old French youth international Melvin Bard, who ranked second in the squad for minutes behind veteran defender Dante. Even though Bryan is now back to full fitness, it's going to be a tough ask for him to get regular game time this campaign. 5. Artur Melo. A signing that we debated vigorously on deadline day, Liverpool's loan capture of Juventus midfielder Artur has gone how many of us expected. Terribly. Despite Liverpool's performances taking a massive dip at the start of this season with just 2 wins in their opening 8 league games and midfielders Fabinho, Henderson and Thiago all struggling for form and fitness, Artur hasn't had a look in, playing just 13 minutes in all competitions. Having only started 24 league games in 2 years at Juve, missing 13 matches with injury last term alone, acclimatising to Klopp's aggressive style of play was always going to be a tall order. Last week, the German manager had the luxury of being able to name 12 substitutes against Rangers, and the 22-capped Brazilian still wasn't included. So what has gone wrong? Well, according to his agent Federico Pastoreo, he was working his way back to full fitness following an operation in June, only to injure himself in training early last week. He now needs an operation, likely scuppering any chance of him playing before 2023. This signing is already turning into a nightmare. 4. Yves Bissouma. We could have easily included Jed Spence here, but with manager Antonio Conte making clear from the get-go that the former Forest loanee wasn't ready to contribute, we are more surprised by the lack of minutes given to Yves Bissouma. Having emerged as one of the Premier League's most exciting midfielders during 4 years on the south coast with Brighton, Spurs' £30 million capture of him in June was seen as something of a bargain. But so far he's barely had a look in, playing just 230 League and Champions League minutes at the time of writing. And there are doubts whether he'd be able to get a regular starting berth. Firstly, Conte isn't a fan of unnecessary rotation, particularly in midfield and defence. During his title-winning 16-17 campaign at Chelsea, only 13 players were handed over 600 league minutes, while in his Scudetto season at Inter, as many as 7 players started 30 league games. And furthermore, he has also made clear that Bissouma has work to do, saying that with the ball he's really good, defensively he has to pay more attention. And handed a chance against former side Brighton, Bissouma failed to grab it, making just 2 tackles and interceptions, completing no dribbles and also picking up a yellow card. 3. Denis Zakaria. Another midfielder that Juventus were happy to get rid of on deadline day, Denis Zakaria joined Chelsea on a season-long loan. Thomas Tuchel, the manager who signed him, valued his versatility, saying he can play in a back 3, he played for Mönchengladbach in a back 4 as a defender, and he can also play in both positions in midfield, before explaining that he also saw the Swiss international being able to cover at wing-back. But in the early part of this season, Zakaria has found himself out of favour, failing to play a single minute, with 3 appearances on the subs bench, the most Chelsea fans have seen of him. With at least 5 central midfielders in front of him in the pecking order and Tuchel having already departed the club, Zakaria's nightmare season looks set to continue. 2. Emmanuel Dennis. Having contributed an impressive 16 league goals for an abject Watford side that went through 3 managers in 21-22, big things were expected of Emmanuel Dennis when he signed for Nottingham Forest this summer for a fee that could rise to £20 million. But while many of their 23 new signings, including Orel Mangala, Remo Freuler, Willy Boley and Serge Aurier, have also found game time hard to come by, given the fact Dennis was a Premier League star last season, his absence is more conspicuous. So far, he has been limited to just 1 start in 5 sub-appearances, totaling 159 minutes, and with Forest having scored just 7 goals, 19th in the division above only Wolves, his lack of game time is even more perplexing. Having averaged 0.3 expected goals and assists per 90 so far this season, 0.14 more than Brennan Johnson, who has started every game, and having grabbed a goal on his first start of the season against Aston Villa, it might be time for Steve Cooper to make him his first choice number 9. 1. Harry Winks and Sergio Reguilon. While Tanguy Ndombele has shown glimpses of his best form at Napoli, 2 players that haven't experienced a career revival since leaving Spurs this summer are Harry Winks and Sergio Reguilon. Deemed surplus to requirements after Conte brought in 7 new players, Winks and Reguilon headed out on loan to Sampdoria and Atletico Madrid respectively, with neither move having gone well so far. Winks has yet to make a single appearance for Samp, and when his former manager Marco Giampaolo was asked about his absence, he said, "Ask the doctor, I've seen him for half a training session." The former Milan boss could have done with him being fit too, with Sampdoria's 8-game winless run at the start of this season costing him his job. Reguilon, meanwhile, is a similar story, with a groin injury keeping him out of action since April, with Reynaldo proving useful at both left-back and centre-back, and Carrasco Simeone's first-choice wing-back. The Spaniard is up against it to establish himself as a useful member of Atleti's squad. Given his history with City rivals Real, what could have proved a controversial move might end up being a totally forgettable one. So those were our 10 new signings struggling to get a game, but can you name any more? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave it a like and subscribe to Football Daily if you haven't done so already. Thanks for watching, we'll see you soon.